Yo! Welcome back to One More Mana. My name is Eric, and today I'm coming at you guys with another War of the Spark deck tech with another one of these amazing and fun legendary creatures. So this week's deck tech is on Storrev, Devkarin, Lich. Storrev is 1 black, and green for a legendary creature with some cool abilities and kind of a retake on a common Golgari theme with a little twist. So first of all, it has trample and it's a 5/4. So for the 4 mana you're paying, it's a decent sized body with trample. Obviously not the most exciting part. But when it deals combat damage to either a player or a planeswalker, you get to return a creature or a planeswalker from your graveyard to your hand that wasn't sent there that combat. Golgari has a lot of legendary creatures and a lot of stuff that has to do with the graveyard. At this point with Golgari, for most Reanimator strategies, it's really gotten to the point where, like, if you're running Reanimator, you might as well just be running Marin. Marin is so powerful when it comes to Reanimator. Marin sort of has a monopoly on the whole Reanimator thing for a lot of people in Commander. Now, obviously, this isn't going to change the game. This is nowhere near the power level of Marin, but it does have that cool twist that you get to bring Planeswalkers back. In Golgari specifically, it's not something we've really seen a lot of, so especially on a Commander, it's kind of a cool new take on it, and that's kind of where I wanted to take this deck. I want to take a look at that same recurring value engine that you see in a lot of Golgari decks, but with the big Planeswalker sub-theme that will give it a little bit of a new take. So for this deck specifically, it's really 2 sub-themes. There's a token sub-theme and a Planeswalker sub-theme that really go great hand in hand. First of all, a lot of these Golgari Planeswalkers create tokens themselves, which is awesome. But even better, a lot of these tokens you create, whether from the Planeswalkers or other sources, serve to protect your Planeswalkers. They are great blockers, and you can make some tokens with Reach, you can have some tokens with Death Touch. You have a variety of tokens to protect your walkers, let them tick up, get all these crazy ultimates hopefully, and worst case if they get killed, your commander's going to let you just keep getting them back. Obviously, with recurring value, there's going to be some cool enter the battlefield effects, a whole bunch of cool stuff going on. Can't wait to get into it. So we're going to go right into the Planeswalkers to start. The first one I have to talk about is Garruk, Apex Predator. This card is exactly what you want in this type of deck because, one, it's going to create those tokens I talked about, specifically in its case, a 3/3 Death Touch token, so great protection. But on top of that, it also has the ability to act as removal. And in this deck, because we have the ability to recur them, we're really not that afraid of minusing our Planeswalkers. If we need to destroy something and we need removal, our minus effects aren't as detrimental because we could just get them back if we can deal damage with a commander, which through some cards you'll see later, we're going to be able to do pretty easily. So this guy just really does everything we need. The next one I want to talk about is another Garruk, and it's Garruk Wildspeaker. I love this. It's only a 4 mana Planeswalker, but on top of that, its plus will allow you to untap 2 forests. So you get to ramp. Essentially, it's only costing you 2 mana to play this ability, and it also has that added bonus of a minus that allows you to create a token. So again, it's protecting itself, or you're adding to your board presence. Anytime you can ramp with these Planeswalkers, especially in a deck like this where we can have a lot of tokens to protect them, if you're just ramping as crazy and you keep using these plus and minus abilities to create more and more mana and get this board presence, especially with the recurring value engine from our commander and we'll keep bringing them back, you can just really get these value engines that just keep going and will win you the game. Speaking of value engines, Liliana Death's Majesty. This is perfect in this deck because, for one, you can plus it, mill a little bit, which again, we're recurring stuff from the graveyard. I didn't go heavy into the mill theme, but a little bit of it really isn't going to hurt. And you get a zombie, so you get that token that you want to protect, build your board presence, and then that minus, where you can just return a creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. Unlike some hardcore Super Friends decks, we do have a lot of creatures in this deck. Creatures do matter in this deck, so having this ability, again, we get that recurring value, we get to recur some of those ETBs, we get to recur some of those token generators, and again, I'm going to say that we're value a lot, but we're really just going to work to outvalue our opponents. The next one is from the new set, and it's one of the cards in the new set I'm most excited about, and it's a Liliana Dreadhorde General. For one, the art is amazing. It just looks like, the card itself just looks awesome, but it has that new Planeswalker enchantment text thing on it that's just a static ability, and whenever a creature you control dies, you get to draw a card. And especially in a deck where we have a lot of tokens, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be great, and that kind of feeds into some of her abilities. So for her one ability, when you uptick her, you get to make a token. Again, that's what we want to do. But that minus ability, where everyone sacrifices 2 creatures, for us, we're going to have a decent amount of tokens. It's not going to hurt us that much, and we're going to get to draw cards. For your opponents, that might not be the case. They may have Voltron strategies going. They may have just a few big creatures, and that stacking 2 creatures can just completely stop their strategy. The next Planeswalker, and a lot of these are very similar in what they're doing for us, but it just works so well that we want it, and that's Vraska Relic Seeker. Now, again, you can plus it to make a token, or you can minus it to act as removal. So you get removal and token generation on the same card, and again, like I said, we're not afraid to use those minuses because we can get that recurring value, and these tokens are even meta. We're not really worried about attacking with the token just yet, but still, you can keep that in mind, and we're getting ways to protect it. It's just perfect. So now you notice I didn't really get into the ultimates much. I kind of just talked about their abilities. I'm going to get to that a little later. Yeah, then you know what part it's in, but we'll get to that later. Looking at the creatures, the first one I'm going to talk about is God Eternal Bantu. I was so excited when they talked about the fact that they were going to bring back the eternalized versions of the Amonkhet gods, because I loved the art on them. I liked the lore. I was kind of underwhelmed with some of their effects. These new versions, they're not amazing, but I do really like some of them, and this is one of the ones I really do like. In a token deck, you take this in a token deck, if you get a decent board presence and you can just sack a whole bunch of stuff, draw a whole bunch of cards, oh my, any type of end of the battlefield effect like this, again in a deck that we can recur it, sometimes you don't need all those tokens out. Sometimes you can just spare maybe 2 or 3 to draw 2 or 3 cards. Doesn't sound like a bad idea to me. I mean, anytime you put card draw on a creature as cool as Bantu, I'm okay with it. So we snuck even a couple War Planeswalkers in here with the creatures with Flip Nissa and Flip Lily. This is going to help us ramp more, which we really never have enough ramp. And Lily's going to even make us a token when she flips and then allow us to recur stuff after she's flipped, doing really everything we want to do. The next card I have to mention is Tendershoot Dryad. I feel like this is just going to become a staple in any token deck with green, or if it hasn't been already. It's so good. The fact that every upkeep you're getting a token, and if it sticks around, it can buff them when you have the City's Blessing. And when they get buffed, they work as even better protectors for your Planeswalkers. And if really you don't get rid of this dude, it's going to get out of hand real fast, and you're just going to have this wall up that, pending some type of board wipe, your Planeswalkers are going to be able to sit back and chill. And the last creature I have to talk about is Pure Imaginative Rascal. This shouldn't be surprising. You're doubling the counters. Well, not doubling, you put an additional counter on, but when it comes to Planeswalkers, that's a big deal. You're essentially doubling your +1 abilities, or making your +2s, +3s, and so on. Especially with a lot of these ultimates that are already either within doubling season range or close to it, this can just so fast get out of hand. Now looking at the sorceries, 2 of the most important ones, and I didn't go as far into this as I could have, but it's something to think about. Decree of Pain and Toxic Deluge. You can go really heavy on creature-based board wipes in this deck, because you want the tokens out, but really they're there to protect your Planeswalkers for the most part. So if you went heavier on board wipes, unlike most token decks, you really don't mind, because your Planeswalkers just get left there, and you can just keep making the tokens with them, rebuilding your board faster than usual in a token deck. So it's like kind of up to you. I'm only running the 2 because I do kind of lean in towards that token strategy, but if you feel you want to go heavier towards the Planeswalkers, throw in the Damnations, throw in all the other board wipes you want, and go heavy into that. Now looking at the artifacts, there's a number of these artifacts that are just serving to pump your commander and help your commander get damage in. You have the swords for that. You have Gorgon Flail and Basilisk Collar work great because your commander has trample. So when you mix trample and death touch, you're getting tons of damage through, because only that 1 damage needs to get in with death touch to kill whatever's blocking it. And you're getting a ton of damage through, on top of the fact that you're guaranteeing to get damage through. It doesn't matter what the toughness is. So that's a great way to guarantee to get damage through and really get commander damage. That's not the plan A for this deck, but you mix trample and death touch, that commander damage can add up real fast. Along those same lines, Prowler's Helm or Whisper Silk Cloak, make your commander unblockable, guarantee a way to get that damage in so you can just keep pulling stuff from your graveyard. Taking a look at the instance, Arachnogenesis. Oh my, this card is, I think in any deck that's green, I kind of want this. It's such a unique fog effect, but token decks really take the most advantage of this. And I haven't gotten into the token payoffs yet. Again, you know what part that's coming in, but you can just fill your board with tokens, just stop all damage unless they're running Spider Tribal, and protect all your walkers and fill your board with creatures. This is just, it's a great card. I just can't believe it only costs 3 mana. That part's insane to me, but yeah, it's a great card in this deck. Looking at the enchantments, I mentioned a few times, we're running Doubling Season. You have to run Doubling Season. I'm actually not running Parallel Lives. I felt like Doubling Season was enough, and really, we have enough token generators where we're not worried about having 100 tokens. We just want enough to protect ourselves and have a presence. It's completely up to you. Speaking of token generation, running both Bitter Blossom and Awakening Zone. So that just gives us a consistent production of tokens, even if our other engines slow down a little bit. Taking a look at the lands, really nothing super fancy. The one I'm most excited about is Karn's Bastion. This card is, I really think this is going to be an amazing card in Commander. I'm so excited about it because I really do. I don't run a lot of Planeswalker decks. This is really one of the first few I've ever tried to build, but I love Infect and I love +1 counters. So I think this is going to, across a lot of strategies, be great. But specifically in this deck with these Planeswalkers, I think it's going to do some work. And the only other land I'm going to mention is Hissing Quagmire. Hissing Quagmire will do a great job of just giving you some protection for your Planeswalkers in a pinch if your board of tokens happens to get wiped out. So that's going to do it for all the categories. Now onto my favorite part with this deck, the best part. It is the game-winning step. I'm going to show you how to win the game. And that is one of my biggest pet peeves with some Planeswalker-centered decks is that they're very slow. They kind of just grind. And this is a grindy value-based deck, but some of them are really grind to a halt, where the whole point is to just make sure nothing's happening. And I don't want that to be the case for this. I want to have some explosive ways to win. So the first way is we're going to take advantage of all those tokens I talked about. Now, there's tons of ways. I already mentioned probably the biggest token generator, or the potential to be, is that Arachnogenesis I talked about, but there's tons of ways to make tokens. And with cards like Craterhoof Behemoth and Triumph of the Hordes, you really don't need that many. And that's in addition to some of the pump effects that some of the Garrett Planeswalkers can run. You can really just swarm the board, and it's kind of funny when you're running this Planeswalker deck and all of a sudden a bunch of little tokens just come and overwhelm the board and kill everybody. And the next way to win is with Planeswalker Ultimates. Usually when you're just running Planeswalkers in regular Commander decks, the Ultimates aren't super realistic and not the focus. But in this deck, because we run Doubling Season and because a lot of focus is on just protecting those Planeswalkers, you're going to be able to ult some of them. And when you're able to ult a card like the new Liliana that just came out, Liliana Dreadhorde General, and everyone has to sack down to one permanent of each type, not non-land, just permanent. Yeah, everybody's scooping if they do that. Nobody's going to sit there with one land and try to play when you got a full board. That's a game-winning ult. And that's even in Doubling Season range. And even if it's not, again, you can uptick and you can get there. Vraska Relic Seeker's another one who has an ultimate that's really just targeted player removal. Someone's life total just goes to 1. The next one I have to talk about is Garrett Apex Predator, card I already mentioned. I love this ultimate so much because it's not just, oh, I win the game on the spot. But it essentially is targeted player removal because someone's getting an emblem with every time a creature attacks them, that creature gets +5/+5 and treble. And they're not going to last too long with that on the board, especially when you got a whole bunch of tokens sitting around. And the coolest part about this is so many Planeswalkers have game-winning ultimates, so you can really pick and choose whichever your favorite ultimates are and whichever Planeswalkers you really want to focus on, and that's the ones you can include in there and use as your game-winning ults. I actually do really love that about this plane, like having a Planeswalker focus, or in this case a sub-focus. You kind of just pick and choose, and you can have some really cool ults that'll, especially the ones that interact with the creatures you're going to have, and win the game in a lot of different ways. And then the last way really to win the game in this deck is with commander damage. Your commander is a 5/4 trampler. It doesn't take much if you can give it Death Touch, you equip it with something like Blackblade Reforged, you can be trampling so much damage through, or just make it unblockable. There's a lot of equipment in this deck that can make your commander big. And really, if people start shifting their focus to your Planeswalkers and forget the fact that you got this big trampler as your commander, 21 commander damage can add up, and in some games, that might be your best, path to victory. So that does it for this week's deck tech. I really hope you enjoyed this deck. This was kind of my first venture into building a Planeswalker-centric deck, and I actually had a lot more fun with it than I thought I would. I had been someone that was kind of hesitant to build such a Planeswalker-focused deck, so I was really excited about it. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. I would love to hear, this is kind of a flexible commander. Again, you can go Planeswalker or creature-based. There's probably some other cool ways to do it too. So let me know what you guys think. Tell me some of your ideas, and I will see you guys next time. Also, throughout this whole video, there has been a psychotic kitty just crawling everywhere, jumping on things, probably making some crazy noises in the background. Yeah, so I was aware. I just couldn't stop him.